So many cool weapons in the game and so little of them are actually good, and it's kind of annoying. There's a lot of guns that I really want to use more, but don't just suck on Helldive, but suck in general. I only play Helldive with random squads, and I've beat Helldive with every single weapon and every single stratagem in the game. Now, I'm not some elitist that says, dude, all the guns are good, you're just trash at the game. No, because some of these guns are objectively unfun and worse to use than others. So in this video, I'm only going to be talking about weapons that I want to see buffed and or changed to make it better and more viable at higher difficulties. And we're going to start this off with the Diligence Counter Sniper. Now, I'm talking Terminids only just to remind you, because I hear the Diligence Counter Sniper shreds bugs, but using it against Terminids, I would rename this thing the Diligence Counterproductive. This thing is worse than the regular Diligence in every single way. Slower handling, ugly scope, terrible damage, no penetration, shorter mag. It seems to do no more damage than the regular Diligence, despite saying in its description. This gun hurt to use. This gun genuinely hurt to use. If you want to make level 6 feel like Helldive, go ahead and bring this thing on the Terminid levels and you'll make your time much harder. And DMRs are kind of in a weird spot because shotguns kind of do the same amount of damage, especially the Breaker had pretty much the same range as the Diligence. So to improve this thing, make it have more penetration. Make it so when I line up 3 enemies, I'm beaming through them. Make it do way more damage, especially to medium armored enemies on Terminids, and make this thing's handling drastically increase because this thing is a drag. An enemy will be pushing you and you'll aim toward that enemy from your previous position. The circle's still dragging and your gun is literally still shooting before your rifle is pointed at the enemy that your dot is on. It's ridiculous. Fix the handling, increase the penetration, increase the damage slightly, and fix the scope because the scope is too messy, it's too ugly. Just keep it simple, a simple ACOG or even maybe a cross reticle, and this thing will be fine. But in its current state, do not use against the Terminids. Bots, I hear it's good, but Terminids, stay away. Now the Jar 5 Dominator. This weapon probably disappointed everybody that unlocked it. It's categorized as the only explosive weapon in the game. So the Jar 5 Dominator, its damage is there. Its damage is there, it has good damage, but this weapon says jet propelled rounds. Does this look jet propelled to you? No explosive AoE damage, horrible handling. When trying to switch between targets when enemies are closing in on you, it's a drag. It drags way too much. And this thing is a spark shooter. It shoots sparks. When I thought, oh, jet propelled rockets, like it's shooting micro rockets or it's shooting explosive rounds, I pictured something like the Bolter from Warhammer Dark Tide or a Torg weapon from Borderlands 3. But shooting this thing, it's like a Roman candle. You're just shooting little sparks. Like I said, the damage is there, but it has absolutely no AoE. And for the short amount of rounds you have, it struggles and you're going to be running out of ammo a lot, especially when killing the smaller enemies. So to buff this thing and make this thing fun, double down on what makes these weapons unique. Make this thing feel explosive. Keep the damage the way it is, but add some AoE so when dealing with smaller enemies, you could damage them as well instead of having to single shot them and watch that little spark. Oh, look at this little spark right here, this little spark shooter. Give it some AoE. It punches fine. Fix the handling so it's not such a drag to shoot. And here's maybe a controversial one, but maybe even make it not so it's hit scan. I know there's a slight delay, but maybe increase the delay a little bit so you kind of have to shoot ahead of your target because it feels more like a micro missile. Make it projectile based instead of hit scan so that it actually looks like you're exploding. So when somebody pulls this thing out, you know it's on the field because you see that thing pumping rounds and blowing up little enemies. Now it doesn't have to be like shooting a grenade launcher, but just have it do a little bit of AoE. If I'm shooting 3 roaches coming at me, if I shoot the roach in the middle, it's going to damage or even kill the other 2 near it. If there's 2 hunters shooting me, if I shoot that thing with it, it's going to maybe stun the ones around it. Make this thing really feel explosive, and this gun's going to be a lot of people's favorite weapons because right now it's just a slower DMR. Now onto the energy weapons. I love energy weapons in sci-fi games, and when I saw this thing was going to shoot a beam, I was like, oh cool, I'm going to be able to slay enemies like I'm playing Remnant 1 with that laser gun, only to unlock this thing and to have absolutely pitiful damage against even the smallest enemies. It seems so inconsistent. Sometimes I'll beam a hunter in the head and it'll instantly die, and other times I'm watching it, I'm holding the beam on it and it's flying mid-air while I'm holding the beam on it, lasering it, just for it to hit me and then die. It's so inconsistent, and every time I was using this gun, I find myself getting instantly swarmed by smaller enemies. This thing cannot hold its own in any scenario. With that said, I want this thing to function as like a laser cutter. You're just lasering enemies' weak spots and limbs off. You're slicing and dicing smaller enemies up and melting their faces if that's what you want to do. Have it to where the longer you herald it on a certain point, especially a weak spot, has increased damage. And this is an energy weapon. Let your imagination flow. Have an alternate fire mode be to where if you hold square or whatever it is on keyboard to switch the fire mode, the alternate fire mode would be ignite. So where in this mode, shooting an enemy has a chance to light enemies on fire, especially smaller enemies, at the expense of it overheating faster. So yeah, you'll be doing more damage, but at the trade-off of you having to possibly reload more because it eats through your batteries and overheats quickly. I think that would be fun, and I think it's a creative solution to add an alternate fire mode to make this thing good, because other weapons have spread, other weapons have penetration, this weapon has neither. So this thing should be really, really good at one thing, and right now it's good at nothing. So increase the damage and add an alternate fire mode that overheats faster, but it has a chance to light enemies on fire. I think that would be dope. And as an energy weapons fan in any game I play, I would love for this thing to be viable at higher difficulties, or any difficulty for that matter. Second energy weapon in this category, the Scorcher. Now this weapon is actually really fun to use in this current state. This is currently one of my favorite weapons. I take this weapon in a Helldive. Its damage is good. I think this thing hits really, really hard for what it is. The only problem is its magazine, and I think this is common opinion shared by a lot of players. This thing runs out of ammo so fast, it's almost like you're like, I'm out already. It needs more ammo. The current cap, the capacity for each magazine is 15 rounds. I say raise this to 20 minimum. I think that would feel comfortable enough to where it doesn't feel like you're running out of ammo all the time. And another recommendation I have, back to this thing being an energy weapon. Energy weapons have infinite possibilities to be cool. They could do anything you want them to do. You know, submachine guns are going to be submachine guns. Rifles are going to be rifles. Shotguns are going to be shotguns. But this being an energy weapon, it's clear to me that they had no idea where to take this thing because it has no alt fire mode. The only thing you could change on the gun is the fucking flashlight. Who the hell cares about bringing a flashlight? Oh, you got the Scorcher dog? Hey, turn the flashlight on, it's dark in here. Said not a single soul. So my recommendation would to be have an alternate firing mode. The alternate firing mode should be a charge mode, to where you could still tap fire, but if you hold the trigger or the shoot key, it charges it up and it either shoots a round that does more damage or it has bigger AoE, but at the expense that it consumes 5 to 4 shots of ammo. So you could pop, 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 then charge it, and there goes 5 rounds in your magazine. This would make this thing feel more fun, more like an energy weapon, and more unique. Now, it doesn't have to do the damage of the pre-buff railgun, but it'd be cool to have an alternate fire mode to where if you don't want to just spray down enemies, you can kind of select when you want to use your charge shots and when you want to use regular shots. I think that would make this thing much more unique and much more fun to use. And other than that, I think this thing's damage is solid. A charge mode would be cool. Ditch that stupid flashlight, and an ammo cap raised to 20 rounds per magazine. Now the Senator, what's supposed to be the hard-hitting single shot secondary. The Senator is a cool weapon. I like the idea of having a hand cannon. I like the idea of this thing being a 44 Magnum. You know, they say the bear killer or the big game hunter, or like a Smith & Wesson 500, just a big ass single hand gun that you could use to kill big game. Unfortunately, this thing does not function like either of those guns. I heard this thing is good against the bots, but remember, I'm talking strictly about Tyranids. When you pull your secondary out, it's usually because you're getting pushed by smaller enemies that you want to clear, specifically hunters. When I pull this thing out and it's taking 2 shots to kill a hunter, I'm worried. I only have 6 rounds in this thing, and sometimes I'm getting pushed by 3 to 4 to 5 hunters. How am I supposed to rely on a 6-shot gun that's taking 2 shots to kill a single hunter? And it's taking like 2 to 3 shots to kill warriors as well. This thing needs a major damage buff. I mean, this thing needs a damage buff to where I'm one-shotting a hunter anywhere. I mean, this is supposed to be like a 44 Magnum. This thing's supposed to hit hard, and it does about as much damage as the first pistol you get. Buff the damage of this thing so that I could one-shot hunters, maybe 1 to 2-shot warriors, and one-shot any of the other small enemies. The medium enemies, like the hive guards of those, that's fine. This shouldn't be able to completely delete those. But those small enemies that are pushing you, this thing needs to be able to get the job done in 1 shot. And the base reload that it currently is right now is unacceptable. This thing reloads way too slow, and I don't care that you have to reload it shot per shot per shot. I think that's fine. But when you're loading in shot per shot per shot, and it's so slow, especially when you're usually running and reloading, reloading, oftentimes every time I pulled this gun out, I was still reloading. Like I'd never had a full mag of this thing. So boost the speed. And another recommendation I have, instead of an alternate firing mode, have an alternate reload mode. So whereas if you're switching the fire mode, you're not switching the fire mode, you're switching the reload method. So it's a speed loader instead. So if you don't like loading it in single shot, you just hold square, switch it, and next time you reload, you're gonna have a speed mag. You dump the rounds out, drop it in, now you're using the speed loader. So the advantage of the speed loader could be you load the gun faster, however, just like magazine fed weapons, at the expense of wasting any unused rounds that you did not shoot when reloading. I think that would be a really cool alternative. It give people two options the way they want to use the gun. Do they want to be conservative and load in every shot, or do they want to speed load, okay with wasting some rounds in certain situations? Alternate firing mode, not being a firing mode, but being an alternate reload method, being a speed loader, and higher damage. One-shot hunters, 1 to 2 shot warriors. Now, if there isn't a gun that I mentioned, it's because I think the current way it functions against the Terminids is just fine. I previously had problems with the spray and pray. This was my previous review of this weapon pre-buff. Dumpster fire of a weapon, the spray and pray. This is an absolutely perfect name for this weapon because you're spraying so many enemies and praying you kill at least one. I even thought the other pump shotguns were severely lacking in ammo, and I was going to make a recommendation to have minimum of 64 shells, but 60 is just fine. So I think these weapons are perfectly viable at any difficulty now too. They did a great job with the spray and pray, and they did a great job at raising the ammo count of the other weapons. The breaker did not support the nerf of the breaker. If I were to nerf the breaker, I would have slightly nerfed the range, but just taking out the ammo count was just kind of goofy and it made no sense. That about covers it for all the guns I'd like to see changed. I'm going to do a video on the stratagems next. The general changes I would like to see to diversify everyone's play style a little bit more. If you like this video, I don't give a damn. Let me know what you guys think. Are my ideas absolutely stupid or are they pretty reasonable, and do you guys agree? Go ahead and drop a comment down below. Let's have a discussion. Share this video to the devs too. Maybe you could provide them some insight. Maybe I'll just get downvoted times 3,000. I don't give a damn. I just really got to say this as someone who's played 100+ hours of this game, been level 50 for weeks, and Helldive is easy mode for me. So go ahead and share this video. Let me know what you guys think. I'm working on a stratagem and a level 9 guide for you guys. Subscribe or not.